Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest from Death Ray Vision, No Mercy from Electric Eyes, out June 30th on Metal Blade Records. This album has 12 tracks, 36 minutes in length, and this is the band's third full-length studio album. They are an American hardcore punk band. The design of this album is simple, it's straightforward, it's fluid, it's dynamic, it's engaging. It's an album that offers you a glimpse into the diversity of this album from song to song. Sure, the key factors of this record surround themselves around hardcore and punk, but this album offers quite a little bit more than just that. And that's the experience and that's the design that they put together. I mean, you go from a song that has more of a melodic rock vibe to a 50-second punk track back to back. It's jarring at times, but when you get engaged with this album, when you start listening to this record and you go from first to the last song, these sort of nuances, these sorts of peaks and valleys work extremely well. Because it's also a 36-minute record. There's not a lot of room to wiggle here. 12 tracks, 36 minutes, making the album feel very compact. So these changes, these jarring changes from track to track allow the album to break away from that cohesiveness that it has, making it feel a lot more dynamic and therefore giving it more playability and making the experience a lot more engaging. Once it gets into the sound, like I said, this is a hardcore punk album, but I also felt like this album offered a lot of more melodic elements and even just pure rock elements to the overall sound experience. Now, having a little bit more diversity or having a little bit more versatility in the sound and not depending just on punk and hardcore gives this album those changes, those ebbs and flows that allow 36 minutes to feel extremely dynamic and extremely lively. I enjoyed this diversity. The sound always felt connected to me because the spinal cord of the experience, the heaviness, the thickness, and at sometimes the grooviness of the guitars was always there. Maybe more, maybe less, but always there. Also the consistency in terms of the drum sound, how heavy it was, how compact it was, and how much overall substance it gave to the sound experience, also very consistent regardless of where these tracks are taking you. So this is an album that definitely understands that in order for you to have a record that stays connected, you have to have some similarities within these songs. But then outside of those similarities, you can push the boundaries and you can go as far as you want to go and still allow the album to feel connected, still allow the album to feel like every single song belongs together under one single roof, under one single umbrella. The sound on this album is really good overall. I like the production of the record, I like the sound experience, I like the overall thickness that this album puts forward, specifically guitars and drums coming together but even separately. So it's an album that sound-wise didn't really leave me wanting more. And even when I drove deeper into the experience, I felt like the album had enough bass. The bass really popped at the right times, specifically songs that have more of a punk influence. Those definitely allow the bass to play maybe a little bit of a bigger role than some of the others. But when you go into the drum sound and you see the consistency of it and you see how good it is coming across, how can you not like the overall experience? The same thing with the guitars. Doesn't matter if I'm talking about the more melodic approach or if I'm talking about the more driven, thick guitar riffing sound. The guitars were always great in what they had to offer and in how they delivered. Even when it came to the solos felt a little bit more driven, they felt a little bit more clear, they felt a little bit more compact than the overall guitar sound and the overall sound in general. But you needed that in order to create a difference between the different parts, between the different elements that make up a song. If those solos had the same sort of experience as the rest of the track, as the rest of the guitar sound, they would become a little bit less useful in breaking up and giving different dynamics to the songs, allowing you the individual construction of the tracks to be different from track to track and have those different nuances to them. So I honestly really enjoy the overall sound. I really enjoy the individuality of the parts and the consistency and diversity at the exact same time that they offer to the entire album. Now when it comes to the vocals, this is Keith Bennett's first album with the band, and I like his voice. I like the aggression, I like the intensity. The only issue that I have here is that I felt like his delivery felt better, more natural in the more punk, hardcore songs or the ones that were better hybrids of those two genres. The tracks that had more of a melodic influence or that the melodic fingerprint was perhaps a little bit bigger than everything else, his vocals felt a little bit out of place. The songs didn't have the same sort of chemistry. The songs didn't have the same sort of DNA. They didn't feel as balanced. Perhaps they didn't feel as natural and organic. So the more heavier side, the intensive side of the band that's represented across the majority of these tracks, he fits perfectly. He has that intensity, he has that aggression, he can keep up with the faster songs, and he can also be heavy in the more methodic delivery that sometimes it's needed. Like I said, it's the melodic side, or the tracks that have more of a melodic push, more of a almost a pure rock, arena rock style sound behind them. Those feel a little bit disconnected from where the vocals are coming in. Overall, I enjoy the record. I thought the record could have been even more aggressive, or at least more consistently aggressive, and leaving some of that melodic side to smaller portions, maybe spreading it out a little bit better, not allowing to sometimes dictate the whole momentum of a single track. But I enjoy the sound experience. I definitely enjoy every single song sound-wise. It's just, once again, the vocals didn't feel as connected consistently from the first all the way to the last track. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Praise the War Machine. And this is a thick, groovy guitar sounding song, complemented really well by the drums and vocals. I love the aggressive nature of the track musically, but I also love the aggressive nature of the track vocally, matching really well with the lyrical content on this specific song. The drums are thunderous in the chorus. That's perhaps where you see the main difference. You see the volume of the drums and how hard they hit, a lot better defined when it comes into that chorus. It raises the volume and the presence of the entire chorus of the song. The verses feel more fluid, more direct, because of not having that sort of impact, but it's a very complete track all around. It has great sound, great experience, and then it has off the charts vocal performance. Next we have An Iron Age. This is one of those tracks that's off to the races the moment it starts. Super aggressive, super intense, heavy drums, allowing those heavy drums to create a thickness that then the guitars are able to rip through that same thickness with a very similar experience, creating some nuances from the verses to the chorus, but not a drastic drop between the two. The song feels very compact, very intense and aggressive and compact across verses and chorus. It's just a little bit of a nuance as you change from one to the other, just so that you feel like there is a little bit of a drop here and there, which obviously gives the necessary ebbs and flows to the track so everything doesn't stay stagnant from start to end. I also enjoyed the solo section on this track. The solo section was just awesome. A pure exclamation mark in the overall feel, in the overall intensity, in the overall rawness that this track puts forward. And then adding some backing vocals in key moments of the song works really well, because talk about being raw, that adds a little bit of a live feel, it adds more of an organic feel, and it creates a callback element that it's very natural for a hardcore punk band. So you're bringing something from the stage, from the live performance, incorporating into a track, bringing into the studio, giving the overall song a very organic vibe, a very raw vibe, like a one-take recording style song that has that sort of sound, that sort of presence, and then that sort of vocal performance behind it. Last but not least, Oh Great Destroyer. I love that this track opens up with a solo. Very old school, but I love it. It just rips up. You start off with a solo. You know you're going to get a track that has a lot of movement, a song that's very fluid, and that's exactly what you're going to get. This is more of a punk song straight through, from beginning all the way to the end, even starting with that solo. I just love it because it had all of those punk condiments in it, and it's a song that never really looks back. It's also a track, because of that punk influence, allows the bass to pop a lot more throughout the entire track. You just feel the bass presence almost constantly throughout the entire song, and it still allows the track to have a thick experience, a heavy experience, moving really well. Very dynamic song all around, but you see the punk influences taking shape in the sound, in the execution, in the design, in the solo, and even in the overall vocal performance. Great track all around. This is it. Death Ray Vision, No Mercy from Electric Eyes, once again on June 30th on Metal Blade Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.